Hi, it's Molly. I wanted to come on and make a video today about healing um, because I've been thinking lately about this concept that healing is not doing, healing is not fixing, healing is being and getting to know ourselves and kind of unraveling all the ways that we use distraction, which I just made a video on distraction. I might make like a second part because of the train coming in. I had to cut it kind of short, and there's just a lot I could say on distraction. But anyway, the ways that distraction feel like a sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here, but I'm distracted, you could say. They get condition us to think that healing is a certain way when it's not that way, and being really busy, in a culture of busyness, tied with achievement, that then we ascribe that to the healing journey, right? That like, can I do more? Can I go to more retreats? Can I take more therapy? Can I try a different medication? Can I journal more? Can I, the list just goes on and on of all the things that we could be doing in order to heal. And while I think that pretty much everything that we utilize that I listed is useful, the contradiction is that as long as there is a place in our minds about arriving at a healed place, then we're never going to get there, right? Because we're always searching outside of ourselves for something that is not us. We're never able to drop into our own bodies and appreciate gratitude and see how far we've come. It's kind of like if we're always waiting to, and this kind of doesn't apply because I guess you could get your PhD and you are officially done with school, but I was going to say, like, if you're in first grade and you're always waiting to get to like the last grade that you graduate, you're never going to appreciate that you graduated first grade or second grade or third grade. There's so many stages and steps, and that doesn't mean that you're inherently better when you're in the third grade than you're in the first grade. You're just different, right? And you're actually exactly where you're supposed to be at every step in your journey. And whenever we are trying to rush that process along, which I really relate to that, of like, well, like for instance, for me, like I was in a graduate program that took 4 years, and I wanted to get it done as soon as possible. So I did it in 2.5 years, and I was like pushing through this program to like make it all happen. And it felt really good to like save time and like maximize like what I was doing and be super productive. And just this, I think this was like a very, I heard it got like really popular in the 90s, but this idea of like multitasking to like make the most of our time. I really have had that mindset, and I'm naturally a very mental person too. So I think that, and I have ADHD, so I think all those things together with me, I think that I can just like speed run through healing and life and like all of my accomplishments, and I forget to enjoy the sweetness along the way. And I remember when I was in my graduate program, someone told me, like, remember, like, this is the only time you're going to be in this program. So, like, slow down and look around and enjoy what you're doing. And of course, I thought that I was doing that. But I needed to, like, take an extra class too. And, like, I needed to get that, for me, it was like I needed to get that ego hit, I needed to get that feeling inside that I was doing a little bit more than I could be doing. That overachieverism, which is a seeking of external validation, instead of being able to be grounded and centered in my own body. Is trying to create the same mindset that kind of got us into needing to be on the healing journey, within the healing journey. Um, and so it's just funny how we can be healing from being an overachiever at work or the 9 to 5 or in our families growing up, and then we do the very same thing. We replicate the same thing when we're on the healing journey. So to shift from like what it's not into what it is, um, I would also really recommend watching Mark Freeman on YouTube. You can look up his videos here on YouTube because he's inspired a lot of the things that I think about. But he always jokes like on his live streams about like, what would you be doing if you were officially healed, and he like has this little thing he posts on Instagram. It's like, here's your official healed certificate, and like, I think he was the one who said healing is just living the life that you deserve, And so just showing up into that life and practicing living who you really truly are. And that's being, that's the beingness of life. Um, So, to practice that, we can utilize things like meditation and journaling and maybe some of the same things that we could have used from like an overachiever mindset that I listed before. But the approach is different. It's kind of like going to a spa now, or um, just something where you slow down and you really dig into it. I've heard of people that are like in the 12 step recovery community. They have this thing they call slow briety, and they talk about working the 12 steps really slowly. And so I see that sort of perspective from it too, where it's just this being in the present moment of healing instead of trying to arrive at healing, because then it's always going to be like escaping. It's always going to be something that's just out of reach, and there is that continued dysregulation in our bodies of not being enough. When if you sit back and think about where you are today, what you have to be grateful for today, what do you really love about yourself, what do you really enjoy about yourself, and what are the things that you're building, and what are the things that you're giving to yourself, and how beautiful that is, you know just pause there for a minute to think about that you have that capacity at any moment to really slow down and become present with all that you are, all that you are becoming, and the beauty in becoming of every moment. What does it feel like when you tap into who you are in this very second? And in that way, healing is not something that is like a task. Healing is just a way of being, it's like a verb. It's very similar in my mind to presence and giving permission to just be as we are. So if as we are is experiencing a lot of turbulent emotions, what we might label as like negative emotions, or we're just having a difficult time, that is not something that we need to fix or change. It's just something that we get to lovingly observe within ourselves. So that would look like just having a lot of compassion that something has dysregulated us. And I heard another YouTuber I recommend, Aaron Abaki, talks about finding that, well, I forget the exact way that he puts it, but basically it's that you don't say I am mad or I am this. It's like anger is happening, right? And so you're just observing all of the emotions as they are there. You're not identifying with them, but you're holding compassion for the experience of being a vessel of those emotions at that time, and not trying to get to a place where we never have those emotions. And I think, something that I learned from Mark Freeman that I brought up before is this idea that it doesn't really matter what emotions or thoughts that you have ever. What matters is the actions that you take. So we can have any thought, we can have any feeling, but what matters is the valued actions that we're choosing to take in that moment. And so if we can be an observer of those feelings that we've labeled in the past as negative, then they become an opportunity for more presence and for deeper awareness of being and all of the different, just vast array of experiences of what it means to be a human, rather than a guilt and shame ridden thing about that we shouldn't have experienced that emotion or had a thought pop into our head, right? Because the nature of being human is that we're going to have all sorts of wild thoughts pop into our head, all sorts of feelings experienced in our body. And that is not us. We are the observer of all of those experiences. So the same is true for healing. We can see healing maybe as a process of developing closer awareness, closer alignment with those valued actions, which I think is similar to my video that I did about following, divine desire and finding that alignment with your inner being. But we don't need to ever judge ourselves for the feelings that we're having throughout the day, along the way, that are leading us closer to that alignment, because it's all part of that journey. And I hope that all of us can enjoy the journey, because it's not that like it feels good, and that's what I mean by enjoyment, but just kind of be in awe of it a little bit, of how vast it is, and how, like, if you've seen like the spectrum of emotions, like wheel, if you've ever looked at that image, just like, wow, look at all these different emotions that I'm able to feel and I'm able to experience. And then even if we have days where we step out of taking valued actions and we give into an impulse or a compulsion, even having compassion for those moments and that seeing every new moment as a chance to start over again and being gentle with ourselves again. There's nothing that we need to like redeem ourselves for. We just notice it and we come back into alignment. It's kind of like when you're doing meditation and you notice that you followed a train of thought, and so you come back to the breath, right? So hopefully on your journey you can find that level of gentleness with yourself. You can explore what it means to be you, because every single one of us gets to have a unique experience of living life, which is so cool, and nobody else can tell you how to be you. That's something that I've learned. We can go to many teachers, and I'm someone who could just spend like all day on YouTube watching all the teachers on here, but ultimately the biggest teacher is yourself, and like your lived experience and knowing your truth and like listening to your inner being. And so listening to teachers helps that, because we can notice when something rubs up against it and is not, oh, we feel like that's not right, or it's causing like a shame or guilt response within me, and it's not something I align with, or it clicks and we're like, wow, that really helps me integrate and understand myself better. And there's no right or wrong whether something clicks or not. It's just that's just not something that you have in common with that person or not. And that's great. There's so many different ways to be a human, right? That's why there's so many different beliefs and religions and cultures, right? And none of them are right or wrong. They're all just different expressions of life. So that's my 2 cents on the healing journey and what it means to be experiencing it day to day, and slowing down, bringing some gentleness to ourselves as we're all so focused on healing during this time, and learning about all of the ways that we have been influenced by our experiences and the ways that we have power over our brains to reprogram them, and how amazing that is. And also that it's amazing just to be in the middle of all of that. It doesn't have to be done. And there really is no doing to it either. It's just observing that it's something that's happening for us right now. It's something that we're curious about. And it's a place that we can return to within ourselves and within our hearts of showing up for ourselves. Like ultimately, healing is just listening to ourselves, I think, and just asking ourselves what we need in that moment, and then having the courage to give it to ourselves. So, if you have any thoughts about that, leave it in the comments down below. I would love to read and hear what you think about the healing journey. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.